are just a day away from the start of Week 18, which has 5 win and in games. Mina Kimes, what do we need to know about the Texans and the Colts?
Yeah, I want to see if Gardner Minshew can do something he hasn't done much this season, but did last week, as you see here, throwing to Alec Pierce, which is connect deep. It is an area where this Texan defense, which is much improved, is still vulnerable. 25th in DVOA versus deep passes. If Gardner can do that, if he can get the deep ball going, I think this offense has a chance.
I'm looking for the Jaguars, Titans. Hannah, I want to see the health of Trevor Lawrence. Trevor Lawrence this year has been a little bit like the Black Knight from the old Monty Python movie where you cut off an arm and cut off a leg and he still comes at you. Finally missed a game last week with a shoulder injury, but he's been back at practice all week and a limited participant. They list him as questionable, but I think it would be a surprise if Trevor Lawrence couldn't go for this one.
Bears, Packers. This is a big one for the Green Bay Packers and I believe for the Chicago Bears, especially with the Justin Fields saga. But I'm going to go to Green Bay. Jordan Love, opportunity to go to the playoffs in his first year as a full-time starter. That would be a win for him. And also Brian Gutekunst, who took a lot of heat for drafting a quarterback. Seems to be working out. They're getting healthier on the outside. Green Bay in Lambeau for a chance to go to the playoffs. Seems familiar? Yeah, they were just here last year.
For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, should beat the Carolina Panthers, who have been the worst team in the NFL, and in doing so, they should lock up the division. It's something that I think, though, can never be taken for granted in the NFL, but it starts, of course, with connection to the guy you see there, Mike Evans, who's quietly put together another incredible season with Baker Mayfield. When that connection is on, when he's able to hit Evans deep, particularly against man coverage, the Bucs offense really clicks, and they should have the opportunity to do so against a Panther secondary that can't cover.
And finally, primetime Sunday night, Bills-Dolphins for the AFC East title. Buffalo has won it the last 3 seasons. Fins lost by 28 in Buffalo back in Week 4. Even though they are 7-1 at home this season, they have major injury concerns on both sides of the ball. Pass rusher Bradley Chubb, so sadly, suffering a season-ending torn Achilles in a 56-19 loss at Baltimore in Week 17. Can they regroup? As we welcome you to NFL Live on the final Friday of the regular season, Hannah Storm with Marcus Swagoo.
It's good to be with you. It's
so
good to be
good to have you here in person.
Hey, Roz and Mina.
Mina Kimes and Dan Graziano with us as well. Only 3 seeds locked up in the AFC. It's crazy, and 1 in the NFC. So, Graz, let's start with who is actually playing. Time to check in with the Domino's pregame headquarters for the Bills and the Fins matchup. So, Dan the man, Miami with key injuries. What more can you tell us about the status of some of these players for Sunday?
Well, let's start with the quarterback, Tua Tagovailoa, because there's good news there. He hurt his shoulder toward the end of last week's game, but he's been a full participant in practice all week, and the expectation is that he'll be fine to go for this huge game against Miami. You see Raheem Mostert there. He missed last week's game with knee and ankle injuries, was back out at practice today, so there's at least some hope that he'll be able to go Sunday night. Same with Jalen Waddle. Jalen Waddle returned to practice today and was out running routes, catching passes, so it's possible he could return from that ankle sprain in time to play Sunday night against Buffalo. It was a big step for him to be back out on the field today. And then Xavier Howard, the cornerback, the news there not as good. Head coach Mike McDaniel actually already ruled him out earlier today with that foot injury.
All right, so Eli Apple expected to start in his place. Thanks, Dan. The Dolphins' offense has really struggled against quality competition. They've struggled against winning teams overall, but Miami averaging only 17 points a game against teams that came into the matchup with a winning record. Tua Tagovailoa's QBR has absolutely plummeted in those games. They're going to get another chance to reverse that trend Sunday night against the 10-6 Bills, whose defense has allowed the 4th fewest points per game in the NFL. So, Swagoo, how can the Fins change this narrative and have success?
Their whole focus and premise of this game should be for them to how can they creatively get the ball in Tyreek Hill's hands and Devon Achane. How creatively, not just letting Tua drop back and stand in the middle of the pocket. I still think Tua struggles with secondary plays when he has to move out of the pocket and improvise. But when he can play in rhythm and on time, and how you loosen the defense up is to make them come up and tackle. Now, the Buffalo Bills have been really good. and they've pressured a little bit more than usual, and we saw it against the New England Patriots. So when you have potentially those opportunities man-to-man down the field with Tyreek Hill, you have to try to capitalize on them. But I want to see some jet sweeps. I want to see some creativity in the screen game. That is how you get after this Buffalo Bills defense. You're not going to play them straight up. This defensive line is playing wonderful. You got to attack these linebackers, but more importantly, get your superstars involved early and often and get the ball in their hands beyond Tua having to throw a slant or having to throw a deep ball.
Yeah, listen, everybody knows they can rip off some explosive plays. They know what Tyreek Hill can do. Mina, we know Sean McDermott's going to make some adjustments. How do you see that defense trying to slow down this explosive offense?
Well, we just saw defense do a fantastic job of it, the Baltimore Ravens, who used a game plan not too dissimilar from what San Francisco did near the end of last season, which is you focus on taking away the middle of the field, getting in those throwing windows, those landmarks that Tua hits so unbelievably quickly, taking away the in-breaking concepts, forcing him to throw outside the numbers where this offense is simply less potent. However, it should also be noted that the two defenses I mentioned, Baltimore and San Francisco, have the two best linebacker duos in the NFL, which makes doing all of that a lot easier. And these Bills' young linebackers, by the way, Marcus, they're playing really well. Bernard, Dawson, since Matt Milano went down. But this is a very difficult challenge, especially if the Dolphins don't fall behind, and you also have to account for the run action. All the stuff I mentioned, it happens usually coupled with a lot of pre-snap motion, some sort of fake handoff at times. And for a linebacker, that's a very tall order if Miami still has the option to run the ball too.
Absolutely.
Yeah, really fascinating on both sides of the ball. We're going to pick this one in just a bit, but it's been a long time for Miami. They haven't won the East since 2008 when Chad Pennington was the quarterback. Tony Sparano was the head coach. Remember that?
Sparano was with me in Dallas.
Yep, there you go. See, you knew that already, Swagoo. All right, win and get in. Nothing like controlling your own playoff destiny. But does Jordan Love have to win to make the Aaron Rodgers departure worth it?
What's
about
love
that?
got to do?
There you go, Swagoo's singing. And who doesn't like a little extra cash in their pockets?
That bad.
Yeah, plenty of players have some incentives this weekend beyond the playoffs. We'll tell you who needs what to get that bag.
Moolah Bay.
Pre-Game HQ is brought to you by Domino's. Earn free food after just 2 orders with new Domino's rewards. It's easier than ever to earn free pizza, stuffed cheesy bread, lava cakes, and more. Sign up to start earning today.
Bears, Packers, they battle Sunday at Lambeau Field, and for Green Bay, they win. They're in the playoffs. Here's the good news for the Pack. They've won 8 straight against the Bears, but Justin Fields in Chicago, they've been playing well lately. Bears have won 4 of their last 5, and Fields leads all QBs in rushing over those 5 games. ESPN front office insider Mike Tannenbaum joins us now. Okay, Mike, if you're Bears GM Ryan Poles, your team wins against the Pack, Fields plays well again, how do you then approach the future of Justin Fields?
Brian, I'm trying to trade Justin Fields as soon as the season's over, and he's playing really good football, and his trajectory is outstanding. But I'm going to draft Caleb Williams, who I think has a chance to be a superstar from USC. And also by doing so, Brian, I'm resetting the rookie quarterback contract, which is unbelievable value, roughly about $9.5 million a year. So if you project what Justin Fields would get, somewhere between, let's say, $35 and $40 million a year, I'd rather have Caleb Williams, maybe a second-round draft choice in just what you get from Fields, and save roughly $35 million. So I like Fields, but I love Caleb Williams and the cap savings that comes with it.
Well, obviously, the cap was an issue when they talk about Denver, so let's talk about this team here. Jarrett Stidham's going to get the start there on Sunday in the season finale against the Raiders. Russell Wilson appears that he's headed for a breakup there with the Broncos in the offseason. Which team do you think would make sense for Russ next year?
Yeah, Brian, there's a couple. Let's start with the Pittsburgh Steelers. You pair Russell Wilson with Mike Tomlin and that defense. To me, if Russell Wilson gets back to where he was with Seattle, you could immediately think about Pittsburgh competing with Baltimore for the AFC North. Then I look at a team like New England. New England's going to have to draft a quarterback as well, but Russell Wilson would finally give them some post-Tom Brady stability at the quarterback position and give them a chance to pair with that defense to be really competitive next year. And then lastly, to me, it's the Atlanta Falcons. They need a quarterback. They have a lot of other good pieces, most notably Bijan Robinson, but they've had substandard quarterback play. Again, Russell Wilson can go in there and stabilize the position.
Yeah, you know, as bad as he played last year, you forget, Wilson has thrown for over 3,000 yards, 26 touchdowns, just 8 interceptions this season. That touchdown to interception ratio, that's top 10 in the NFL this year. Mike Tannenbaum with us on SportsCenter. Thank you.